Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my weeks 36 and 37 pregnancy update, but just a heads up, this pregnancy update is going to be a lot different than the ones in the past because the past week and a half has been probably the most wild week we've had up until this point. And like, why? Why the week before I am set to have this baby did all of this stuff happen? I don't know. But I will say the positive is that she is still inside my belly and she is safe and she's in there. So let me tell you what happened. It's a bit of a roller coaster. I cried more in the past like week and a half and had more like mental breakdowns in the past week and a half than I did this entire year, which is saying a lot because, you know, not only are we caring for two young boys, in case you're new, I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, but also we just moved. And like this happened in the middle of all the moving. Okay, let's talk about it. So besides just feeling big and heavy and out of breath, I'm currently 38 weeks and 3 days, or 4 days. No, today I'm 4 days, 38 weeks, 4 days. Besides all of that, besides like all the normal end of pregnancy symptoms, a week and a half ago, it's been about a week and a half, my youngest son, Theodore, came down with a fever. And I was like, okay, you know, little kids, toddlers get fevers. It's usually gone within a day or two. We treated him like with Tylenol and Motrin and he seemed to be getting better. As he was getting better on like day 3, I started to notice little bumps, almost look like little acne bumps on my 5-year-old. And I was like, okay, that's strange, but like he has really sensitive skin and he's going to camp 5 days a week, so like maybe he got bit by something. I don't know. Just seeing them on his arm, you know, not thinking like anything of it. Meanwhile, you know, Theodore's fever is starting to go away. Okay, we're entering in this week before the C-section. So the next day, I think that was a Sunday, the next day, Monday, you know, my boys wake up early, it's like 6 a.m. and I look at Hugo and not only does he still have like the little pimply, what look like little bites on his arm, but now I'm noticing them on his legs and I noticed them all over his back and on his face. And that was when I was like, oh my God, what is this? What is happening? So when Jeff woke up, we were like, oh my gosh, okay, I need to take him to the doctor. He needs to go see a doctor, because my first thought was like, oh my gosh, is this scabies? Is this some sort of mite? Bed bugs. We just moved, so I don't know, like, did his mattress touch something and now we have bugs? I mean, that was my first thought. So in the morning, we're stripping the beds, washing everything, call the doctor's office. They're like, okay, we can see you, you know, first thing this morning. So I take the boys to go into the doctor and the doctor looks at him and like within a minute, not even like 2 seconds, she was like, oh, he definitely has coxsackie virus. And I was like, what is that? Ma'am, I don't know what that is. I've heard of that before. But we haven't had to deal with that, luckily, in the past, you know, 5.5 years that we've been parents. Well, coxsackie virus is a highly contagious, highly transmissible virus that can often cause hand, foot, and mouth disease, which is what she had diagnosed him with. And then it all just started to click into place. And I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. Like, Theodore just had a fever. From what I understand, the doctor told me, and from my Googling, the very first symptoms that you get when you have hand, foot, and mouth disease, coxsackie virus, is a fever for a few days. And then you get this rash, which is often accompanied by mouth sores. And Hugo had been complaining about like his throat bothering him. And I had noticed when Theodore had a fever that he wasn't really eating, but you know, as a parent, it's always hard to tell, like, what is he not eating? I have very like picky eaters too. So like, is he just not eating because he's a picky eater right now? Like, is he just going through a phase? Or is like his throat, you know, he had a fever too. So it's like, he doesn't feel good. So anyway, she was like, oh yeah, like that all checks out. She was like, it's highly contagious. So just keep, you know, make sure you're not sharing drinks with them. Make sure they're not sharing drinks, not sharing food. Okay. So I text Jeff and I'm like, this is what's going on. he is like, did you ask about like you? Like, what about your pregnancy? What about you? Well, I didn't, because I wasn't I wasn't thinking about me, and I wasn't thinking about the baby. I was just thinking about the boys. So then you know, is it a mistake to Google these things? I don't know. It's our first line of defense. So I Google coxsackie virus in pregnancy, and oh, it's not good. It is not good. And this was like the beginning of the downward spiral for me, because apparently it's rare, and like now I'm feeling a bit better. We're a week and a half out, like, you know, my head has wrapped around it a little bit more, but apparently this coxsackie virus can like be transmissible for a very long time. It can be highly contagious for a very long time. It can live in fecal matter for a very long time, and it can infect your baby. And they say that like it's especially dangerous for pregnant women who are in the last few weeks of pregnancy, which is like what I am. So I call my doctor, she calls me back, and we chat about it. And you know, what's good is that from my doctor and from another OB who we have a family friend who's a family friend, I got the same solid information, which was, okay, do what you're doing, which is disinfecting and cleaning everything. Okay, I was doing that. I was cleaning and disinfecting all hard surfaces. We were washing everything we could. I was disinfecting, and I still am disinfecting, cleaning all their toys, the floors, high touch objects like the remotes, the light switches, the doorknobs, all that stuff. She also advised that I wear a mask. It's not an airborne virus, but that will help you like from touching your face and transmitting the virus. And she was like, and just, you know, obviously don't share any drinks or food or anything. And then she said, like, if you do start feeling sick or spike a fever, let me know. Call the office. Okay. So it's a very hand, foot, and mouth disease is a very common virus in children and in toddlers, but it can also be transmitted to adults. Adults tend to have a little bit of immunity like built up against it, so like it can be transmitted to an adult, but the adult could have no symptoms. Well, Jeff got it a few days after Hugo got it. Jeff was like he was like, I'm starting not to feel good, starting to get a fever. Poor Jeff did not have immunity. He got a fever and then got the like terrible sores on his hands and his feet and in his mouth and his throat. So there were days where he like could barely eat or drink. And that was another thing that the doctor had mentioned to me, like that dehydration is a really can be a severe result of coxsackie virus, because the sores can be so painful that you don't want to even drink water. So she was like, if you get the sores in your mouth, you know, stay hydrated, but also like contact us and let us know, because we could do an IV. So that just like took everything up a notch. So like that, now this is all happening while we're trying to get the house repaired to bring home a newborn, to bring home an infant who is like immunocompromised, does not have any like anything built up against this, and is just the most terrifying, like the scariest thing. Because if you Google, again, don't, but if you were to Google coxsackie virus and newborns, again, very bad, like lots of bad things. And I get it, like if you Google anything and like newborn or Google anything and pregnancy, you're more than likely to get some like negative stuff back. But this seems really serious. This seems like, okay, this is like a really serious virus that you really don't want your newborn to get. You really don't want like your pregnant friend to get. So Jeff and I are still sleeping in separate rooms just to like be safe. I have an OB appointment today, and I'm gonna talk to them about, so like now that it's been a week and a half, just talk to them about like, what do we do moving forward? The scariest thing was like, okay, what if she comes early? What should we do? Like, should I even come home with her? Am I going to the hospital by myself? Can Jeff even come to the hospital? Luckily, and again, like this is why I said at the beginning, like luckily she stayed inside. She stayed inside. All the doctors were saying like just monitor fetal movement, make sure that she's like still moving, and she is, like she's been moving just fine. Everything like feels normal. I have the doctor's appointment today, so I feel good about that. We're doing an NST. I'll see how she's moving and talk to the doctor about, well, I'm seeing a midwife today, talk to the midwife about, she's kicking now, about what we do moving forward, because now Jeff's feeling better, the boys have been fine for days, and like, where do we go from here? Can Jeff like come back to sleeping in our room? And you know, I'm gonna keep, because this virus can live in stool for months. I think I'd read articles that said like for up to 3 months. Obviously, like, I'm gonna keep disinfecting, cleaning everything all the time, in addition to like just like, you know, regular sanitary practices. But like, is there anything else we should be concerned about or worried about? How long, like, because the virus is also transmissible through saliva, so like how long, like, should we be kissing the baby, should we not be kissing? So anyway, there's just a lot of questions, and it's been a very overwhelming week and a half. So that's the story. That was all that happened on top of everything else. So it's like I didn't really even have a moment to think about myself, because I was so concerned about her, I was so concerned about the kids, I was so concerned about Jeff, and just like keeping everything together and getting everyone healthy as soon as possible, so that like she did not come into like a highly contagious, like very sick home. So yeah, that's 36 and 37, friends. That's all I have for you. I did have that doctor's appointment I went to when I was 37 weeks pregnant. I can link that down below. That appointment was before all of this stuff happened. So I kind of feel like that was where I was mentally. I was in mentally a pretty good place. Like, we were getting to a good place. And then that just like put a huge stall on everything. I will say now that we're like, it feels like we're on the other side of it. We have been able to get done a lot of the stuff that we wanted to get done, a lot of house stuff that I was like waiting on. So anyway, that's the update, friends. I'm hoping to film one more pregnancy update for you before she comes for week 38. And here's to just praying that everyone stays healthy. We are in the final 3 countdown. If everyone could just stay healthy, and if she could just be fine, like, everything could be fine. That's like all I ask. Just want everyone to be healthy and fine. Okay, friends, love you all so much. I'll show you a little bump shot. Here she is, very big. Again, today I'm 38 weeks, 3 days, so it's a little bit of a cheat, but there you go. Love you all so much, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye, friends.